Hey folks, in today's video, I'm going to show you how to update your shipping, return, and payment profiles for your eBay store. And then I'll do a little bit of discussion on some things to consider, maybe why you would want to offer free shipping versus why you would not, as well as offer returns and things like that. So I'll save that for the end. That way, if you're satisfied seeing the tutorial, you can hop off the video and get on with the rest of your day or night. To begin, start in your eBay seller hub. If you're not familiar with how to get there, of course, in my eBay, it's listed as selling. So you get here, probably a few ways to get to your business policies. Namely, the way that I do it, besides having a bookmark for them if I really wanted, is I would go to my listings tab within the seller hub, and then down here on the lower left, is this section called Business Policies. Now, the interface of eBay is known to change, so I would imagine if you're watching this video sometime in the distant future and the distant past, you would not navigate here the exact same way, but it's probably going to look pretty similar. And you can see even now the interface looks like it took a trip back in time, maybe a decade or so, and looks a little bit more old-fashioned. But in any case, here is the business policies page. This is extremely important to know how to get to and how to manage when thinking of bulk uploads to eBay. In another video, I go through the bulk upload template where you're required to fill out your shipping, your return, and your payment profiles. And all of those are found right here. If you have multiple, you need to put into your bulk upload template which one you would like to use. And so you can see all of the policies that are applicable to my store here, as well as the number of listings that is tied to each policy. Many of these are obsolete. You can see here that I have some old ones. These are probably tied to before maybe even I had an eBay store, knew that you could adjust policies and did everything one by one. But I go ahead and I see that these are eBay standard envelope free, one business that's talking about the handling time, but there are no listings tied to them. And I already have another policy I know just from doing this often that that does the same thing. So I'm going to go ahead and clean up shop and delete these. Doesn't really make a difference. Doesn't really matter, but I like to be as concise as possible. And so you need to have a payment profile, you need to have a shipping profile, you need to have a return profile, at least one, because each of these need to be applied to each of your listings. So I'll start with the payment profile, and you can see this policy name. This is really important, as mentioned, for the bulk upload template. This is what you would put into that column on your spreadsheet. And if you watch the other video and you've never seen or heard of the bulk upload method, I'd strongly recommend watching that video and trying to integrate that to your store if you sell with any sort of volume at all. And you can see here different options tied to this. And I'll get into the why in a bit later, but let's jump back here. You can choose these as you wish. I'm going to go ahead and cancel because I use the default options there. Shipping is where you probably want to have a few different policies for your store. In my case, I sell almost exclusively sports trading cards and the occasional concert poster, which is a larger item. So I have a few different things set up. For sure, want to be aware of this eBay standard envelope, which is pretty much the best and only shipping option on eBay that will help you clear very low end, think $5 and below, but I'll go up to $20 because of the insurance included. And you want to be familiar with that. So this is my go-to, my primary shipping policy. I do free shipping, which I'll explain why I do that in a bit. And then I also give the buyer the option to select a more premium shipping option, one that might be either faster or better protected and can take larger shape or more weight. As a note, I've very rarely, maybe one time selling thousands with this business policy, had a buyer select the more expensive option. And of course, they are different. eBay standard envelope is in a plain white envelope. It's not as secure, although it is pretty darn secure. The numbers don't lie on that. but it definitely is not as secure as, say, a bubble mailer or a small box that might be shipped with USPS Ground Advantage postage. So I love giving an option to the buyer, and that way it's kind of on them if they really want to upgrade. But the default is free, the lowest end. As for handling time, many things here. You can see eBay really wants you to stay 3 to 1. I'll talk about it in a bit, but 1 business day is a sweet spot when it comes to an eBay top-rated seller discount. You want to be at that 1 day. I guess you could do same day as well, but there's really no advantage to doing that. Stick with the longest possible. That makes you eligible. And then as for international shipping, for most of these things, international shipping will be baked in. You can see this little write-up here, and you can do that. Or if you really want to get spicy, you can go your own way and offer some other form. I don't mess with this personally. A little bit too much spice to worry about how you're going to get this to other countries. So I trust the eBay international shipping option, which has been used maybe a handful of times in my thousands of transactions here, where you ship it to a local, or I should say a domestic United States hub, and then they handle the portion getting it to that other country. And then you can do some other things. I choose to exclude these types of shipping locations just because I've not personally had good luck getting to other places like U.S. protectorates. By all means, if you're confident or if you think that it'll work for you, go ahead and do that, but I choose not to. The next one is the return policy. So you can see a few of the options here, description that's really just for you. And another reminder, I mentioned this when talking about handling time, but eBay really wants you to offer returns, and that makes you eligible in many categories for a top-rated seller benefit, which equates to a 10% discount on final value fees. I have somewhat recently, maybe within the past 2 months, toggled this to on, not knowing what it would do. I'm also convinced it boosts the algorithms to show your listings maybe more prevalently than other listings that do not offer free returns. But this is how you do it, and this all keeps you eligible for the top-rated seller discount in most categories. 30 days, buyer pays return shipping, and the refund method would be money back. Now, with that said, I've never had a legitimate return request. Not yet, anyways. I can expect it will happen at some point in the future, but in terms of frequency, has not been an issue or really a topic I've had to deal with besides having this policy in place. So that concludes how you set these up. You can just judge by my listings, or my policies, I should say, that I have a number of these set up that I can apply to different listings. My go-to, just because of what I sell, is this free ESE optional 449 Ground Advantage. That's my title for it. The options are in there. I also have a priority mail option where I charge, as well as a bubble mailer option with Ground Advantage postage that I use as well. And judging by this listing quantity and when it's applied, you can see my style of business policies. So that concludes how to do it. The implications here, we'll just spend a couple minutes discussing. I went over in my other video my bulk upload template, which is modified from what eBay provides for the sports trading card category. You can see this is even the same example that I used in that video, so it would be helpful to pop over and watch that. But these options for me, format and shipping mode, equate to those business policies. And within the spreadsheet that goes to eBay, which I'll pull up here, within the spreadsheet that goes to eBay, you will clearly spell out what your policies are in the appropriate columns. This is a super ugly view on VS Studio, mainly because I don't have Excel handy and didn't save the link of where I had it on Google Sheets. But hopefully you get the point of what I'm trying to say. I'm going to go down, and you can imagine that this is a spreadsheet. Each of these commas equates to a different column or a different row. And for things like this, free returns, ESE optional 449 ground advantage, and eBay managed payments, that is my shipping, my return, and my payment policy. The actual headers that go to eBay in a CSV file are shipping profile name, return profile name, and payment profile name. So for each item, you need to associate that with your selection of choice. I could have gone in and applied any one of my policies in the applicable columns for my listings. I just happened for all of these to do free ESE optional 449 ground advantage. And it's this exact name. You need to make sure that aligns. Even if it has a number in it, which is default from eBay, that needs to be in your bulk upload template. This, just for viewers who haven't seen the other video, these are my shorthands where in the background in a Python code, when I read FP or fixed price in ESE, eBay standard envelope, the code then digs up what these policy names are and then puts those into the ugly, nasty spreadsheet, which I'm showing you on VS Code and not Excel or Google Sheets, so it's not as easy to read, but that's what applies these particular names there. Now, some discussion on why I do things a certain way. I've mentioned this a couple times, but the eBay top-rated seller is fairly compelling reason why you would want to choose specific policies. If you are eligible for eBay top-rated seller, in that I'm pulling up just a shot of what it looks like here at this point in time. If you're eligible, you can get a discount by having your policies within something that eBay wants and prefers. So this is kind of convoluted. I don't know why they make this so darn complicated, but you really have to sell a certain volume of items, and I'll just show mine to confirm that I am a top-rated seller and maybe get into what this means a little bit. But you have to have a return rate or a defect rate that is below a certain threshold. See, mine is 0.08%. That's, in my opinion, really low. 1 out of 1289 transactions that had this tied to it. And that is successfully criteria for a top rate. And I haven't had one click the buttons to say items not received. I have had that happen over message a few times, but it hasn't affected my metrics. And then the other key thing to be eligible for top-rated seller is you need to sell a current or have a number of transactions and selling amount, sales volume that is above what they require, which you can see here. These are really the big ones. You need to have at least 100 transactions and at least $1,000 in revenue in the past 12 months, which if you're doing this daily, if it's a lively hobby for you, it shouldn't be any problem to reach these numbers. But it probably took me, I don't know, a number of months of streamlining processes to get there. And you can see this, the 10% discount is when you offer same or one-day handling time, and for most categories, a free 30-day return policy. I believe that the trading card category, you do not have to offer returns. I believe that's the case. It'll show you on this page once you get there, but I think you only have to do 1 day handling time. In any case, the next reason why I think it's important to think about your business policies is related to your spot in the algorithm, where it's going to promote your items. And I'm convinced this is entirely anecdotal. I don't have myself the data. I'm sure there are some articles or postings out there that would suggest the same. But if you offer free shipping or returns, I'm just convinced it will only help, if not just only help your spot in the search rankings for your items. So to me, that is a risk worth willing to take. I'm going to go ahead and offer those for most of my listings, both free shipping and 30-day returns, just so that I can, if it truly is the case, have better search rankings for my items, which may help me land a sale compared to a seller who does not. Now, you saw my sales numbers, you see my feedback. I am not the highest volume seller in the world. There are some very prominent trading card sellers who sell way more than I do, and they may not want to offer one-day handling time. They may have a longer time because it truly takes them that long to process all those orders. But at my volume, I'm very content, and one day is super simple for me for all these things. Other thing I'll mention on the handling time, this is a really good thing to know if you are worried, say you're going out of town, and you don't want to commit to one day handling time. This time away feature is great. I use this all the time. Even if you're in town busy, go ahead and you can edit time away. And just as an example, let's say I'm going out of town this weekend. I want to still allow sales. I'm not going to do any processing, but let's say I'm leaving tomorrow and I want to give myself the full half day off. We'll say I'm leaving at noon and getting back on Sunday for a weekend trip. When I apply this, it actually postpones the one-day handling requirement, and it gives buyers a note to say that I'm out of town, or just time away. It doesn't specify necessarily that I'm out of town, but that gives me a little grace. It informs the seller and changes my ship date for one-day handling to when I return, and within one day of that. So anything I sell, say I'm gone for this time block over this weekend, that would say ship by Monday, March 4th, and I would still be eligible for that on-time shipment, which factors into the top-rated seller's discount opportunity. So that is a little bit into business policies. To recap how you get there, or how I get there, you go to your selling hub on your eBay page. I click the listings button, probably a few different ways to get there. And then here in the bottom left, at least for now, to access the business policies to get into the interface. And you need to make sure you have a payment policy, a shipping policy, and a return policy, at least one of each. Might recommend multiple depending on the different items that your store sells. And then these will be used if you're doing a bulk upload. You're going to put those name for name in the different columns that associate with those profiles. Or if you're listing item by item, it'll be a drop down where you can select them from there. And finally, we discussed some of the benefits perhaps of these different options between free shipping, one-day handling time, offering returns, and the like. So again, up to you on how you run your eBay store. You have to have practices that are congruent with these policies. And it's going to look different if you're a high volume seller, or if you just get on eBay with a garage sale mentality and you're only trying to sell something every now and then. But if you're a hobbyist or real interested in this stuff like me, worth looking into, worth noting down these names and checking up on them from time to time, especially as postage rates and policies and insurance coverage may change. So thanks for tuning in. We'll be putting more videos like this out there just to walk through some of the basics of running your eBay store. I specialize in trading cards, but many of these things you can apply to really any category of your liking. Thanks for listening.